think I always made the comment that once a miller, always a miller.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! Good Evans, he's done it again. Another promotion for the big man.
I've got 12 bottles of champagne in my office and we're going to drink them all night.
Do me a favour, drop me off in Rotherham.
Hello, welcome to New York Talk. This is one of the most not sad or frustrated. I don't know. It's not going to be a happy episode. That's all I know. We have another defeat to talk about. 5 defeats out of the last 6 league games, I think it is. We've got a game to talk about. We'll do what we can. We will talk about the ins and the outs, the positives and the negatives in terms of arguments against and for certain things happening. We'll do what we can, is all I'll say. Mick, football aside, because I don't know, let's keep that way for as long as we possibly can. How are we doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. I mean, it got worse when the Dappen World Championship this morning, didn't it?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It's the first time in a long time I've been looking forward to Monday morning and getting back to work. Quite honestly.
Okay.
I've had
Fair
enough.
Fair
I
enough.
hate sport.
Sport is terrible. Tom, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I am. I'm ready for. I'm going to start to pay you guys for these therapy sessions. They always help. I'm feeling, football aside, I'm feeling good. Football, included. Well, it speaks for itself.
It sadly does. We've got loads of people with us. Fishman said, "Go in the comments." Says, "Good evening. Another day, but see the same old depressing story. Do everyone a favour, Tony Stewart, get rid of that incompetent manager before it's too late." That's from Fisherman Sid. Paulo Rhodes went yesterday. It's a 14-hour round coach journey. £20 to sit in the sand with a tarpaulin roof. It was drier outside, freezing cold. We lost, typical away match, but the Bovril was nice, which you don't expect from a southern ground. No offence, Crawley. Scott Kent says, "Evening lads, Evans out, Stewart out. Enough is enough." Reg says, "Isn't it just depressing at the moment, football wise?" Yeah, it is. Miller 6-6. "Evening, everybody. Yet another woeful performance." Sarah Ogden went yesterday evening. All yesterday's match was wet, windy, and dreadful all around. Kelly from saying we are in a bit of a mess at the moment. There's lots of comments already. Thank you, everybody who was with us so far. We're going to have to kind of play devil's advocate for a lot of what we say tonight, because we are all in agreement in terms of what the next steps are we want to see for the football club. But I don't think it would make a very good show if we just went, yeah, we all agree. So we're going to have to come up against each other a little bit. But Mick, I'll be honest, I don't know where to start. Where do you want to start in terms of, do you want to go through the game first? Do you want to go through the current situation and come to the game later on? What do you want to do?
I don't know, mate. I'll be honest with you. I'm out of ideas, because we're sitting here twice a week now for I don't know how long, just saying the same things time and time again, and nothing comes along to prove us wrong, or to even provide some fodder to play devil's advocate with. You know what I mean? I am so fed up of the whole situation. I don't know where to go with it, quite honestly. The game. I mean, we might as well talk about the game yesterday for a start, because that's obviously what this podcast is about. Ultimately, to review that Crawley performance, and let's go with that, shall we? Because let's start with that, and we'll end with what the game ended with was another car crash. So let's start with the more positive stuff, shall we?
Okay, we can do that. I was going to Football Mad comment first. Football Mad asks if we invited Evans onto the show. We did it last season, and we did in the summer. I don't think it would be a good idea, to be honest with you, at the minute. And it might put some really good people at the football club in a bit of a position if we were to ask the question again. So I don't think it is a good idea for us to have Evans on at the moment. Having said that, if he would like to volunteer himself, there is an open invitation for anybody at the football club to come and talk about it. I just want to get that kind of in there for Omar to cover that off. Let's talk about the game, Tom. because around 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes, it was positive. It was very similar to the Bradford game. It was very similar to the Barnsley game. That there was a positive start. There was a shot by Clark Harris, which pulled up the keeper, had to make a decent save. There were moments within that first 5 to 10 minutes where I'm thinking, okay, if we can build on this or get that goal, something might progress here. But again, the game just fell off a cliff quite quickly, and that's really weird how that happened again. At least 3 games. It might be longer though. It's at least 3 games in a row now.
Yeah, I mean that those first, like you say, 10, 15 minutes, and have been our greatest strength all season, really. And that's the weirdest thing to say, is that if we don't score in those first 10, 15 minutes, then you're looking like losing, and we haven't done all season. But those 2 chances came from really simple work, and it just took one crossfield pass and then a cross into the box. It was an excellent cross for the first header, and then the second chance came from the resulting corner, which was lucky it fell to him. Took it well, it got saved, and 6 weeks out, you don't really expect him to take those chances as it is now anyway. So that's sort of, it is what it is. But if you have those 2 chances in the first 10 minutes, I can't fathom how a team doesn't build confidence and build momentum off of it. It almost seems like we regress. It's almost like we sort of gone, right, okay, this is the best chance we're going to have all game. We've not taken it. It's not going to get better than this, folks. And then sort of pack in. And it's one of the most, I mean, we can, I know that you we're a podcast that likes to, what's the word? Emotionally support fans. But it's just crap, isn't it? It's just so bad. It's weak. It's pathetic, and it stems from you can't pick one player who started yesterday. You go, all right, they did all right. They ran about a bit. They looked decent. Not one of them. And all this talk about Jules and Raggett, and they look like conceding every time a Crawley went forward. And bear in mind, we're talking about Crawley, who, no disrespect to them, and just based on fact, came up from League Two against a team that's come down from the Championship, lost half, if not all, of their squad, lost their manager, and have still looked like a team that could play us off the park for another 90 minutes, after that. They would have won that game 99 times out of 100, and that is just pure fact. And the fact that that is true, and the fact that we can all see that, I would have completely taken a 1-0 defeat if we would have played that game 9 times again. We would have won every single game because it looks like we were going to win. They look like the far better team. And this is what I keep saying, is that we are looking down, not up. It's not a case of, this team is too good to go down. This team, the manager's done it at Stevenage. We're relegation form. We've not won in 6, I think it is, or 5 or 6. We've not won in the league, and there's no sign of it progressing. On a genuine positive note, I think he's found a formation that probably is what we need to stick with in the 3-5-2 or whatever he tried to play. And I genuinely think that's where you probably get the best of your players out attributes out of. But God knows what we're actually trying to accomplish with the players in it and the tactics that go around it. It's just doesn't work. But I mean, those 10-15 minutes, a genuine threat on the ball. We look like we could play the ball. We look like we know how to play football. And then somehow after you've played a good 15 minutes, I don't know what happens, but for some reason the confidence goes. Crawley get a foothold in the game, and they all look to each other and go, well, what do we do now? There's no leader, and that goes for manager, players, staff, whatever. There's no leader within that entire club. There's not one player who you look at to think they can change a game. There's not one player that you look at to think they're actually having a decent game. They're working hard. Not one. Literally not one. And we've said it since match day 1. Put the right players in the right position, and hopefully it'll work. And he's still not even doing that. So yeah, pretty poor.
Yes, that's a pretty poor understatement, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
If it was not a PG show, I think it'd be a lot worse.
Yeah. Absolutely. Harvey Kelvick says playing Hungbo in the middle and not out wide is criminal. That's one of the. I know we've got illness in the camp, which we'll probably come on to, Mick. But Hungbo was really, really good at left wing back on Tuesday. It was the bright spark for me, and we've seen him play as a 10 before, and he was anonymous. So instead of doing what he was good at, he's put him where he was anonymous. And guess what? Hungbo was anonymous again. Bramwell did fine, I suppose, but the goal came from his side, from a defensive point of view, from the cross. Again, it's square pegs in round holes. Again, it's madness, and if it's the first game of the season, I can accept it to an extent because it's first game of the season. I'm learning my players. We all know Hungbo's out best out wide, and how much of a threat would he have caused them? Because they're a decent team, and let's not take any away from it at all. But they would have struggled with Hungbo getting at them all the time, wouldn't they? And that would have given us an outlet.
It's amateur. It's absolutely amateur. I just reiterate what I said right at the beginning of this. I don't know what else to say because he makes the same stupid decisions week after week after week, and then blames everybody else for it. I'm honestly, I'm livid about it. I am. I'm furious. I'm absolutely furious. You know, we're playing a player who's either a central defender, arguably, but probably better off as an attacking midfielder, as a right wing back, when we've got a right wing back on bench, or a right winger on the bench and a right back on the bench. But no, we'll bring somebody from central defence or attacking midfield, and we're playing at right wing back. We've got a left winger who caused problems, like you said the other night, out on the left wing. So no, we'll not play him on left wing. We'll put him in middle. And the list goes on and on and on. But it's the players' fault. It's the players that are not playing. It's the players that are not performing. It's absolute nonsense. It really is. It's just absolute nonsense. We lost yesterday quite simply because we got the wrong players playing in the wrong positions. And then we decided at half time, the half time team talk went something like, I'm sure, Humphreys, you're out because you're crap. We're going to go back to 4-3-3 because that we've tried half of playing football and knocking it about a bit, and that hasn't worked. So we're going to go back to tried and tested method that's worked for us all season at 4-3-3, and we're going to hoof it long. We'll bring Alex McDonald on, who spent, with the greatest respect to Alex McDonald, spent the second 45 minutes of that game just watching the ball sail over his head because that's all that happened. Absolute garbage, utter garbage. And this is down to Evans and Rayner, pure and simple. You can blame the players. The players will make mistakes. Cam Humphreys made a mistake for that goal. He should have gone with his man. But who knows? Who knows where Cam Humphreys' head is? Because I tell you what, it certainly ain't in a Rotherham United shirt. And it certainly ain't in football. That player has gone from being a top-end championship player, hugely capable footballer, to being an absolute shell of a player within 6 months. Is it a coincidence? Is he struggling because he's had injuries? No. We all know the reason why. If we're honest. And that reason then just permeates throughout the rest of the squad as well. It's just utter incompetence. It really is. And I'm absolutely livid. I'm furious. It just...
Hiding it all, though.
Yeah, thanks. I'm trying. You know, this is just, it's an absolute outrage. It's disgraceful. What's happened to this football club?
Yeah. And I think this stems completely from bringing in Taylor. And I'm not saying that Taylor was a good manager or his predecessor was any better, but the whole point when we brought in Taylor was a young, ambitious sort of, if we get it wrong, it's fine. We're going to keep moving forward in the style of play, modernize the game, make the facilities better. We were on a path of, well, if we make everything else better, we can bring in any manager who fits the style and they can just fit in seamlessly. And then we kept doing that. And it got to a point of Richardson came in again. It was poor, really poor. but there was some sort of identity and some sort of structure behind the scenes. And it's just gone completely backwards. And we said it when he came in. If it's not a long-term solution, which this clearly wasn't, then it's a short-term solution. And if you're not getting promoted in the first 2 seasons, then it's a failed short-term solution. And it's something that, as a club, we've gone backwards in. I'd honestly sack it for the whole season now and just say whatever happens, happens. Bring in youth team players, bring in players that aren't going to play really. Sack it all off because we're not getting promoted. And that's just, if we do, there's got to be some sort of miracle that happens, because even if we do get promoted, how bad is it going to be next season? How awful will it be next season? So we've got a you know, the fact that the fact that Evans laughed off the question of relegation is worrying.
That was stupid. That was another really stupid thing.
Yeah, that was really, really scary, because we are that bad on the pitch, and it's just a fact that Mick, you talked a lot then about manager being awful and tactics aren't lining up, and that's completely fine. But these players are awful as well. Compare this even to last season, and they're player for player worse. Even Humphreys this season compared to Humphreys last season, for a start. You can compare strikers, you can compare centre midfielders.
How they're playing.
How they're playing, individual quality. I mean, all of it. I honest to God think that this team is worse than last season before. Honestly, I think if we would have kept the exact same 11, which never would have happened, you know, the likes of Cafu and all that would have gone. But if we would have kept the same manager and the same 11, we'd probably be battling at the top end of League One. And they were awful, very injury prone. But when they played, they played like, you know, they played basically. They looked like they wanted to be there. This team genuinely. I didn't watch the game. I watched it today. So I can talk about it, because otherwise I wouldn't have watched it, because I can't be bothered. It's a waste of 90 minutes of my weekend, and that's a fact. I hate watching us. I only do it because I'm on here and I want people to know that I know what I'm talking about. I watched it and I was on my phone. I looked back. We had the ball, looked at my phone again. Ball was up the other end of the pitch. I think there was one point about 30 minutes in, Raggett absolutely clears it up the pitch to nobody. Right back takes it down and strolls from their right-hand side of their box to our right-hand side of our box. Just wanders across the entire midfield. You see McWilliams try and maybe think about going for him, doesn't even try and stop him. He just walks past him, and he's, before you know it, they're in our box. But 15 seconds later, and you know, I'll if anyone wants me to, I'll post the screen recording I took on Twitter, because I sent it to my dad because I was fuming about it. It's just farcical, and you can blame managers all that you want about that, but players that let that happen clearly are not good enough to be anywhere near playing professional football. Because if I saw that happen from the likes of, like, if I saw my brother do that in his like under 18s, or if I saw someone do it at Sunday League, you look at them and you go, they're crap. Did the exact same thing here. Nothing the manager could do can stop them not caring on the pitch. And yeah, of course, you're going to talk about, you know, Humphreys' decline in form is coincidental with, you know, the confidence of the players and this, that, and the other, and that comes behind the managers. But at the end of the day, I think I don't know if anyone disagrees with me on this, but if you're a footballer and you go, oh, sod this, I'm not playing, I don't like the manager, then get out. Who are you? Who do you think you are? You know, have some self-respect, have some self-discipline. If you're walking around the pitch because you don't like the manager, grow up. We all have people that we don't like in our life. We all have people that we don't like to work for. Doesn't mean that you just completely disregard every other fan, every other player on the pitch, every other team member. It's just absolutely pathetic. And honest to God, if that's what, I'm not saying he has, but if that's the sort of attitude that Cam Humphreys has taken, then I don't care if he goes. He can be the best player on the pitch. But if you stop caring because you hate a manager, obviously there's issues with that. And obviously calling him out in public is awful. But my God, how awful of a person do you have to be to go, nah, I give up, I don't care. This early on in the season as well. It's just, again, farcical for me.
But the thing is, from a player's point of view, is we only see him 9 minutes a week, realistically. If every other time of the week the rumours of Evans being, somebody put in the comments, Evans being a bully. Let's play that out. I'm not saying he is, but let's play that out. If he is that kind of guy who's aggressive and horrible to the players because that's his motivational tactic, well, I'm just because people see him for 90 minutes a week, I'm not playing for that guy. My head's not going to be in the right place to play for that guy because of the way he treats me. And then not only that, he's calling me out in public afterwards, letting everybody know that I've made a mistake that I know I've already made. Why am I putting any extra percentage? I will go through the motions as Evans, I think, correctly described.
Yeah, no, and that's fair. And maybe it's just me because this would be my personality. Is if someone was slating me in the press and someone was calling me rubbish at my job and this, that, and the other, I wouldn't turn around and go, "Yeah, you're right. I'm just going to give up. I don't care what they think. I'm just going to not try." I'd turn around and perform the best I've ever done for the next 3, 4, 5 weeks and see what they say then. And that's genuinely what I would do. And the fact that these players aren't doing that, maybe that's not their mentality and that's fine. But personally, I think you just. That needs to be your mentality. If your boss has called you out to the rest of your team members, to the rest of your co-workers, to the rest of the fans, the adorning public, that you're awful. And this doesn't just go for Humphreys, by the way. This goes for all the players who stepped foot on that football pitch yesterday. If they seriously think, right, this manager's called, my boss has called me out, said I'm awful. Whatever. I'm just not gonna be here in summer. I don't care. I'll just go through the motions. That's honestly the worst attitude you can take in life. I'd turn around and go, well, you know what? I'm going to leave in somewhere anyway, but I'm going to prove to you that you've made a mistake in calling me out because nobody ever calls me out and gets away with it and perform and try my hardest, perform the best I could ever do in general. Someone's just put there that, oh no, sorry, never mind. I thought they were talking about money and I was just like, money doesn't come into it. But yeah, I just think in regards to attitude, it just needs to be in a place where these players aren't. And you go back to the whole good person philosophy that Warne had, and you think back to it and you think, well, would this happen under good people players? No. Probably wouldn't. they probably absolutely need to try. But look, we don't, like you say, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. It might be just genuine bullying and abuse. And in that case, fair enough. You can act how you want. Because that nobody deserves that in a workplace. But if somebody calls me bad at my job, I'm going to turn around and prove to them that I'm not, sort of thing. Sorry, that was a little ramble because I think there's a lot of stuff in the air on Twitter and what people think about player attitudes, and I think some of it's true, and I think some of it's not quite my caliber.
Fair enough. We'll definitely come back to that. Cheryl Stone said in the comments earlier, so she heard, and I heard this call earlier, and Praise the Gumble yesterday. Rob Staten was telling a fan that no way are we in a relegation battle. Basically called the caller out for suggesting it even this stage of the season. Yeah, the caller was trying to suggest that look at where we are on the table. We're 2 points on the relegation zone. Staten took the kind of same line that Evans did, where there's no way in a million years we're going to be in a relegation battle, without using those words. Let's see. Let's just wait and see. Let's not rule anything out at this point. Let's talk about the goal, Mick, before we go into millions of other topics. I've got about seven things written down here, but the goal itself, Cam Humphreys is right to be criticised.
Yeah.
100. Let's not argue about that. He's lost his man. Whether it's lazy or not, I don't know. What I think it is he wasn't expecting the cross to come in when it did, because he expected somebody to close down the guy who was putting the cross in. So that's the only minor bit of defence I can give Cam Humphreys, but he isn't on his own in terms of whose fault it was. Because I can't admit I haven't made a note of who was closest to the man, but there were like 3 players around the crosser of the ball. Yeah, and he just said all the time, well, there's like just closing down. It's not hard. It's just walk towards him, run towards him. It's just basic stuff.
There has to be at least 5 players in between the crosser of the ball and where the attacker made contact with it. At least 5. And nobody closed the ball down. Nobody even tried to prevent the player coming forward. So it ultimately the blame lies with Cam Humphreys because he was the man. He was the last man to have made a mistake. So obviously he's going to be the one that gets it. And yeah, he got the wrong side of his player. He didn't try or didn't track him back quickly well enough or whatever. So yeah, he's going to take the blame for it, absolutely, or the majority of the blame for it. What Dylan Phillips is doing, I'm not sure. He just kind of stands there and watches it go past him. Makes no attempt to go for the ball at all. It's close in, however. He don't even move. And neither does Bramall, neither does Raggett, neither does Jules. None of them make any attempt to close the ball down and stop the cross even coming in the first place, or try and cut the cross out.
Yeah,
just shocking defending, dreadful defending. But as Tom alluded to earlier on, every single time that Crawley went forward, you felt that we were going to be in trouble. You felt that we were in danger. So, yeah, Cam's got to take it on the chin. He doesn't need dragging through bushes and beating up about it, but that's obviously what he's got. And people on social media and on here saying how crap he is and everything else. That's what happens when you start making mistakes, isn't it? He has zero confidence. It's perfectly clear. You see when he gets the ball at his feet, he can't even put a 5-yard pass in. You can say all you want about how crap a player is or otherwise. None of these players are crap. None of them are, because they're professional footballers and they've gone through a huge amount of work and stress and training and everything else to get to this position. They are quality footballers. It might only be League One quality, or it might even be only League Two qualities, but they are quality footballers. They are more than capable of defending that cross, of going with the man, of putting together a 5-yard pass. There's far more to it in terms of why it's not happening, and it's not down to ability, in my view. Certainly in 99% of the cases, in terms of players, it's nothing to do with ability. It's nothing to do with that at all. It's to do with what's being asked of them, and either their understanding of what's being asked for them, or their willingness to put that into practice. I can't deny. I think there's certainly one or two have thought, "Nah, stuff you, mate. Stuff you."
There's more than one or two.
Yeah. All right. I'm being kind. And yeah, I agree with Tom up to a point. It's wrong. It is wrong. But on the flip side of it, playing devil's advocate, I can certainly see why you would.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
If I were treated in the way that Cam Humphries has been treated in the last 2 or 3 games by a manager of mine at work, well, I wouldn't be down in tools, but I'd certainly be having it out with him, and he wouldn't do it again.
Well, to
Steve Evans or whoever it is, he wouldn't be doing it again.
I think it's an important point, Lady Robert. Let's face it, you can't just sack all the players. Well, exactly. And that, from a player's point of view, if you don't like your manager, that's something in your mind. As a player, you're not going anywhere particularly. The manager could get sacked in a day or two's time. So that's another reason why I think players do down tools. And I do think there is an extent of that with these players where they are absolutely not playing for the manager.
Why? So you have to ask yourself.
Well, exactly.
People are saying on here that it's wrong that the players are not playing for him, and it's wrong this. Why are they not playing for him?
Yeah.
That's a big question. If that is the case, and they're down tools to a lesser or greater degree, why?
If you genuinely want to know, and this is true, if you want to. You can hear what Evans says during the game. If you go on iFollow and you go on the full match replay, volume all the way up, you can hear what he says. And I'll be honest, I muted it because it was so rude, arrogant, and just completely made no sense that I had to mute it. So if anyone is genuinely curious as to how they get treated, just watch the entire game again. I'm sorry about that, but with volume, and you'll be able to hear both Evans and Rayner on the side. And it's awful. It's genuinely awful. I mean, it's a lot of cursing, a lot of why have you done that? A lot of, blame. Just quite horrible, really.
Why would you play for that? Why would you play under those circumstances? Why would you work under those circumstances? You mind playing football, just refer it back to whether watching that's working. Just think back to how you would react to that at work, in your place of work.
No, that is true.
There'd be 1 or 2 fingers going up at some stage, wouldn't it? pretty quickly, I would argue.
Yeah. He got a booking as well. That's worth remembering. Booking number 4, I think. 2 more away from another suspension.
We might be better off suspended for the rest of the season, in all honesty.
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I just want to throw you that we are the joint second lowest scorers in the entire division. Only Cambridge have scored less goals than us, and they've only scored 1 less goal, and they've played 1 less game. So goals per game, it's probably worse than it.
If it wasn't for Nombe's arse, we'd be in the bottom 4.
Yes.
Simple as.
Yes, yeah, it is. Let us talk about another bit of Steve Evans' interview, which annoyed me much more than the Cam Humphreys bit. There was the ball at the end. Alex McDonald, mixed right, didn't have much of a swing in, but what Alex McDonald did do yesterday was put some fantastic crosses in, especially towards the end of the game. And that cross at the end was a brilliant cross, Alex McDonald. That was one of the few bright moments for me. It was a beautiful cross. And Kieran McGuckin was like millimetres away from a dream goal for him. First goal for the club and a point. Steve Evans called it the chance of the season, which it wasn't. It was a very, very good chance. But it was not easy, I would say. And they called him out in the post-match, Tom. And again, we've talked about Kieran McGuckin more than other players on this podcast, actually, surprisingly. Bear in mind, he's barely played for us. But this kid has been ragged around somewhat rotten for us, and he's come on and almost scored an equaliser, almost pulled Evans' arse out at fire, and still has a pop at him. Like, he should be on earlier. He should be probably starting in front of a song. I think he made more of an impact. And then you dig him out afterwards, a 20-year-old kid who's only played a handful of senior games. I just thought it was just so unnecessary. Again.
Yeah. And this happens after every interview, isn't it? McGuckin is scored what 4 in 8, 1 in 2 roughly at Yeovil in the National League, so a good level, scoring 1 in 2. Has then been dragged back to Rotherham due to injuries, which weirdly enough, the only chance that he has to really make a name for himself, those 2 strikers start ahead of him. So in those 6 weeks, he started a grand total of 1 game and came on in 2, I think. I mean, I genuinely, if he goes in January, permanent or loan, I'd be happy for him because he deserves a lot better than what we're treating him. And those comments, I mean, I don't know what he's expecting to get out of I don't know what he's expecting to get out of him. You know, calling it the chance of the season and putting all that blame on when he's clearly annoyed with himself, right? It's not like he's turned around and walked back he's kicked the post in frustration. I mean, that's more passion than any of those players showed yesterday at any given point. And it was for a chance that he should score, and he's probably the first person to admit that. Probably goes back into that dressing room, and he personally probably thinks that he lost them the game. Not true. By
striker's mindset, though, isn't it? That's how striker.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Yeah, and it's a good mindset as well because it shows that he cares and he wants to score and etc. But look, you can't come from such a red hot streak in a good level, starting every week. Yeovil fans were delighted with him. He was their player of the month for the month he was there. Comes back to us, barely plays, gets shipped off at half-time against Barnsley, right? And that's the only start he had. Comes on for 10 minutes, misses a golden chance, which he should score, which is fine. Strikers miss. And gets, I wouldn't say slated for it, but gets blamed for it. He gets called out for it, yeah. So for sure, he is going to be probably... he is going to be a shell of himself now for the next couple of weeks because he's going to have it drilled into him that he should have scored. And that's... I don't understand the man management behind it. And it's strange, right? Because a lot of players come out in interviews, Holmes, McGuckin, Song, Jules, and they praise Evans for his man management. And they say, Gav has been supportive of me. He said, he's given me a chance. And I don't know if they're paid to say it because there's no way that they are, matured into the role. Because, look, I've said it before, I'll say it again. Richardson was not a good manager by any means, but he shielded a lot of the blame on the players onto himself, said it was his fault. And then when they got credit and they won, he put all the credit on them and said that they deserved it. He took all the abuse and let himself not get any praise. And I think that's what a modern day manager is. Let the players do their game. They're all good enough, or else they wouldn't be professional footballers. And yeah, because if not, this is what happens. And confidence goes, and as soon as confidence goes with a player of League One quality, their whole demeanor's gone. Their whole ability's gone. I mean, Wilkes is a perfect example of that, right? Before he joined us, 2 seasons, 50 odd games for Wednesday, 2 goals or something, comes in and is our best player because he's got a new lease of life, a bit of confidence, fresh start. That's what it can do to a good player. And to have no, slowly but surely, McGuckin's confidence is going to go. I can see, I'm going to get his name wrong again, Duncan, come in, potentially get his confidence knocked. And then suddenly John Stones is looking at being, I don't know, John Smith in not National League doing nothing. And it's just, it's all, I don't understand premonitions behind it, and it gets you more and more worked up the more and more you think about it. Because it's just so not on.
No, Paramount says kids need encouragement at that age. Kev says shouldn't have been fetched back. He doesn't even let him, and Kev says doesn't let even the other youth players eat. But the first team manager says they're not senior enough, so he's worried that we'll get evidence. Is that true? If Kev says it is, there's a reasonable chance it is. But don't quote us on that one. Do you want to say anything, Nick? Or
well, you've covered it, haven't you? You've covered it. It's just the same as calling out Cam Humphries. It's the same as calling out everybody else. He does it to deflect on his own away from his own inability to do his job. That's all he's doing. The Cam Humphries part of the interview. He said he mentioned about have you seen the goal, and then he said it would be because we changed formation. And like I said earlier on, right at the beginning. We changed formation to the formation that we've been playing all season, where we've been absolute garbage. Where we've been absolutely crap. He has no intention of moving away from that that formation and lack of any tactic. So, yeah, we are in a relegation battle. Be under no illusion, we will be, because he will not change from what he's doing. And it's not working. I don't know whether anybody's noticed.
I've clicked on. I've clicked on now. Harry says, I do think we're overreacting because the top 4 manager definitely said once we get all our players back, we'll be challenging. Why, Steve? Why are you saying these things? Doesn't help. Doesn't make us feel better. It doesn't make you look better. Why are you doing this?
That genuinely made me, when I listened to the interview, that genuinely made me laugh out loud when I heard that.
Yeah. Likewise, yeah.
Right, let's go through some comments on here. From comments from earlier, I saved nice about Mike the Miller says, baffles me why anyone thought or indeed predicted we would get a result at Crawley or in current form. We're arguably the worst team in the division, and I doubt it will get much better anytime soon. That is to dig at all of you guys because you all predicted Rotherham win on your pre-match prediction.
It's passive aggressive from Mike, isn't
it? Bottom added that they are not playing for him. They don't want to play for him, and they will never play for him now. Says Harry said earlier, anyone know what happened on Saturday? Felt like nothing happened. In all seriousness, it just feels a numbing, like now losing connection with the club again. And this is an issue. And let's go back into our kind of wider picture from the football club at the minute. One of the things that we said 12 months ago, and also when Evans came in, is that what will happen there is fans will be divided. And what's happening now is, if you look at social media, it is an absolute, well, it's a hellhole in general. But you can't mention anything. You can't criticise Steve Evans, because if you criticise Steve Evans, you've got to criticise Tony Stewart. If you criticise Tony Stewart, that's not right. You've got to criticise the players. If you criticise the players, that's not good. If you've got to criticise Matt Taylor or Liam Richardson or whatever the case may be. It's just become this horrible place where No, you're blaming the wrong person. Can we just all agree that everybody's to blame here, mate? Tony Stewart's got a massive role to play. Steve Evans has got a massive chunk of this. The players have got a massive chunk of this. It just feels the fan base is still divided in this position. And we said this was going to happen when he came back in. And it's playing out. And I don't like saying Tony Stewart, but we said this, didn't we?
I don't want to ruin any possibility of you ever having any relationship with Rotherham United again in terms of this podcast. We were in a position a few years ago where I never dreamed that this football club would be in the sense that we were sitting 6th or 7th, 8th, was it, in the Championship? We were playing so well. I know, I agree, I accept that it was early on in the season, but we were playing so well. We were really taking the game to teams, and we were doing really well. And the chairman took his 30 pieces of silver or whatever it was, because he got a cheap offer for Paul Warne, and that decision there ultimately has led to us being where we are today. So, if you want to, in my opinion, anyway. If you want to lay the blame at anybody's door for the position that we find ourselves in here and now today, it has to go, in my view, to the door of Tony Stewart for that decision. That was the decision that set us on this downward spiral. And then obviously he's doubled down on those decisions since, in terms of making the appointments that he's made, specifically this one. Against the better judgment of probably everybody else at the football club, other than himself. So yes, if that's how we're going to, that's how we're going to go down this route, finding somebody to blame. That's where it is. That's where it lies. There's been obviously other decisions after that, like I said, that have just compounded the problem. So, I mean, yeah, we're not going to get out of this anytime soon. No. This particular appointment in terms of manager has been made on emotion, and I'm really surprised at Stewart on this. He's a very, very successful businessman, and one of the main rules of reasons you get to be in that position and to have made that amount of money is to not make business decisions based on emotion. And he's made this appointment based purely on emotion, given the circumstances of Evans leaving this club last time, his behaviour at the club last time. It's just been made purely on, he's my mate. And it's backfired. It's backfired on Tony Stewart, it's backfired on Evans, and it's backfiring on the rest of us because we're all having to carry the can as supporters. So it's from a wider point of view, I do not see any way out of this. I genuinely don't see. I'm sure there will be, and I'm sure it will come right ultimately. But as things stand at the moment, I don't see any way out of it. I just don't.
I agree.
That's a bleak way of looking at things, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, if somebody can tell me, if somebody can give me a ray of light somewhere, so that we ain't going to be getting any investors coming into this club because nobody's going to make a return on their investment from Rotherham United. That's not going to happen. So it's worrying. It's difficult. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, it is. Chelsea, so it was only 10 pieces of silver, Mick.
Whatever. It probably were, yeah. I mean, it were 3 bob and a blackie's egg he sold him for, didn't he? Yeah. As soon as somebody came in with some money, he just went running. His eyes lit up, and that's it. Yeah.
A few people mentioned that Paul Warne would have left even if Tony Stewart made an effort to keep him. We would never know because Tony Stewart kind of said himself that he didn't make an effort to keep him. So it would have been interesting to We know Warney's connection with the club. Had he made a bit of an effort, could something have happened? We will never know because it didn't happen. But then, like I say, you've got a couple of decisions after that. Even the Matt Taylor sacking, if you believe what you hear, which I tend to believe, Matt Taylor sacking was on the premise that Steve Evans would come back last year, which then got poo-pooed by other members of the football club. So had he not thought his mate with Steve Evans would be coming back, would he have made that decision to sack Matt Taylor? Whether it was right or wrong, would he have made that decision at that point? Would we have gone down 20 whatever points? Would Taylor have been closer to keeping us up? Again, we'll never know. But these are things that there are issues with Tom. They're going to make.
Yeah, because we are where we are now. There's no going back. So, it's just giving an explanation in my view why we are here.
Yes, I agree. Let's kind of touch on next steps because I'll be honest, this might be a bit pointless, to be honest with you, because what can you do? Although Mike Miller says, if you're livid, are you going to take action that may force Turner Stewart's hand and not bother turning up to match at New York Stadium?
No, because what does that actually accomplish? Like genuinely, other than I don't understand that. Mick has paid money to have a season ticket. Why would you just give that up? And this goes for any fan that doesn't turn up. I understand completely the premise, but to then not turn up doesn't do any. You're better to turn up in force, in strong, and say this isn't right. You're better to chant this isn't right. You're better to protest outside saying this isn't right. After the game, protest saying this isn't right. To not turn up accomplishes next to he still gets money. He
still got the money.
He still gets the money. He still all the money that comes in. It doesn't matter if 5,000 people turn up rather than what is it now? What is it now actually? Yeah. What does it look like it is? Sorry, because we know that what they announced isn't true.
They sold just under 7,000 season tickets.
There you go.
So they're automatically counted every week.
Yeah, 6,000 are turning up now. 6,000 people have paid hard-earned money to watch their club play week in, week out. If you don't turn up, that's your choice because, you don't want to go and watch the game. That's fine. I completely understand that. But if you truly want him out, the manager out, you better to turn up in force and as a collective to go, you want him out because not turning up doesn't solve a lot. It just, you can blame that on anything. And I'm not saying that this is what will happen, but Chairman and Evans, what kind of excuses they make. Oh, maybe everyone was ill. Maybe it was tough to travel to the match today. Maybe they just didn't want to come and see this game. They'll turn up next week. So many excuses can be made for that. If you turn up and go, we need a better manager, you protest outside saying we need change, then, then that's they can't make excuses about that. They know what the fans want and they know that it's not right. And Palmer's just put there, Harry just put, we tried that against Barnsley and it went well. It did go well. Evans addressed it immediately, came out on his own accord and did a 25-minute interview about how he's going to make it better, blah, blah, blah. They heard it. They knew what was going on. They knew that the fans weren't happy. If you do that week in, week out, and this goes for anything, if you make a protest week in, week out about stuff that you're not happy with, then something will eventually change. How you do it, I don't know. How something collective happens, I don't know. I'm 22. I've never, in my Rotherham United fan watching career, wanted this to happen. But however you want to go about it, do it, because it's absolutely a case of if you don't want to spend your money, that's fine. That's one thing. Empty seats, yeah, definitely they'll notice it, but they won't. It doesn't mean anything to them. To them, it's just, oh, maybe they didn't want to turn up this week. Their ego won't allow them to think, well, maybe they're not enjoying the football. Maybe they don't want to turn out because this, that, and the other. It's only going to affect the players, right? One of the best things about playing at home is the fans behind them, and there's so many stats to back that up, and this, that, and the other. Players need fans at the best of times, and at the best of times now they need fans. But if an empty seats isn't going to solve any performance on the pitch, and to the chairman and to the manager, their ego won't let them think that it's because of them that they're not turning up. They'll want to think it's something else. I mean, however it happens, I don't know. I'll help out any way I can if people get involved. But my God, that's one of the ways that you can do it is make community against one thing, and it doesn't have to be aggressive. It doesn't have to be cursing out of our curses here, there, and everywhere, expletives. It can just be a case of we're not happy, and again, I'll reference the Barnsley game. Clearly, fans weren't happy. That was immediately picked up and immediately addressed by the manager because their egos can't take it. What will happen? I don't know. Will it accomplish anything? Probably not. But at least that way, the fans can get their views across to the board and to everyone else. I think that's just I mean, like I said, if anyone wants to not go, that's completely on them. But I don't think it's fair to say, well, let's do something about it. Let's not turn up, because no, you can still turn up because you've paid money to turn up. You don't want to waste money because you don't like the football. Turn up if you want to, fine, but don't do it because you want the manager out. Do it because you don't want to turn up. Sort of.
Yeah. What I would say is, I don't think they care what we think. Is where I come across. I think if nobody turned up, they won't care because they've got 7,000 people's money already because it's either paid in full or it's monthly direct debit. So I don't think they care. If you've kind of did protested before the game, Tony Stewart will be inside the stadium already, having his pre-match meal or having a whiskey, whatever the case may be. If you bring in a banner into the ground, again, I don't think Stewart will care. I just don't think they care, which is, I suppose, good because in certain you shouldn't be sprayed by fans, but at the same time, you should take their kind of opinions into consideration. This is what we're going to say. There's a lot of people saying Tony Stewart out and all this other. What are you going to do about it is the question. What can you do about it? You are limited in terms of what you can do, what your options are. Because then you torn Mick as well because you've got to try and get behind the players as well. These players, even if Tony Stewart leaves next week or Evans leaves next week, these players are still here. We need to try and get behind the players. So even if you do want to do something, it's still a very difficult balancing act. Even if you would to go down that route, which we are not advocating. All right, I don't care.
No, I'm not. I wouldn't advocate it at all. It's just been mentioned in the comments there. We've been through this before. We've been through this many times before. And it's not an unusual situation for a lot of supporters. I accept that obviously for the younger end of supporters, the last 10, 12 years have been quite a roller coaster, but mainly on the ups, and the downs have been, whilst they've been crap, they've not been to the crap to this level. A lot of us have been here before, so we've been in, we've seen it, and protests don't work. With the greatest of respect, the only time it's going to start to work will be the back end of the season when we're looking at next season's season tickets. Something will be done between now and the end of the season, I'm sure. I just cannot see Stewart going into next season as a League Two team or wanting to go into or be happy for that to happen just to keep his mate in a job. Because obviously the season ticket revenue will go down and he was going to end up either having to put more money in the club or selling up or whatever. So, I can't see a long-term boycott, even a short-term boycott makes a lot of difference. That's my view. And I get that there are other points of view, and I don't really come down on either side, to be honest. But I'm not convinced that it's the right way. I don't know what is the right way. They obviously know. The board are not stupid. The board are not stupid. They are fully aware of what's going off, and they obviously because of what's going off on the pitch, but they can see the discontent and they know the anger that's swelling around the fan base at the moment. And sooner or later, somebody's going to have to pull the trigger one way or another to do something about it, whether that be sack Evans or whether that be an exodus of board members from the club or whatever. Just leaving the two of them there to steer the ship in Tony Stewart and Evans, because that seems to be the us and them situation. That's how it feels from the outside at the moment. Tony Stewart and Steve Evans against everybody, which is a ridiculous state of affairs because they're the two that should be leading the rest of us. I don't know. I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm just talking myself into a little corner here that it's just horrible. I don't want to be any part of it anymore. And I get why Mike says don't go. But as someone else pointed out, I think it was Nick in the comments, we go through thick and thin. We always have done, And when we were all the points deductions and, Boothie ripping the club off, we were still there. We were still going to the games because that it's part of our lives, a massive part of our lives. I think that's why people get so frustrated and annoyed about it. And it's why I get so frustrated about people banging on about how passionate Evans is about the club. Just absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense. He has no passion, no more passion for this club than any other club that he's managed. None at all. Please do not be fooled by that. The only passion he's got is for Steve Evans. That is it. It has nothing to do with Rotherham United. Please don't be fooled by that. If you listen to the intro that the RUFC did here, the first thing that comes on, it grates on me. It grinds boils my blood every time I hear it. Listen to the words that he uses about once a Miller, always a Miller. You listen to the words he uses, and he's basically just reading it. He's read it somewhere, and he's decided he's going to spout it off. I can't remember what I think I've always said once a Miller, always a Miller. No, you haven't, have you? You quite clearly haven't, because that's the tagline that the club have used for the last 3 or 4 years. Though it's those kinds of little things that just sum up the man as a personality. He is going to tell you what he thinks you want to hear. He has no passion for this football club, none at all.
Yeah. Martin Burns said something about Jamie Noble leaving the club as well. He was a community sports trust guy. We don't know the circumstances of that, but that's a concern. I know we having worked with Jimmy a little bit on a few bits, know how much he worked behind the scenes on that community sports trust. It's not great seeing those kind of people lose, the club losing those kind of people from that kind of position. But so let's move on to Steve Evans. That's where we are at the minute. Let's take it back from the kind of bigger picture, the club
Have
picture.
we not discussed him enough?
So we're not discussing him anymore. We don't talk about him anymore. Surely not.
Well,
what did you have for breakfast, Mark? Can we do that instead?
where should we go? Somebody put in the comments, and I've lost it now, saying that they're saying that Tony Stewart's a ruthless guy, ruthless manager.
Yeah.
I think in the past he has shown himself to be ruthless with Neil Redfern, for example, and maybe even Alan Stubbs. If he was ruthless, Evans wouldn't be here. He would have gone after the Barnsley game if he was that ruthless. So I don't think he is that ruthless guy anymore. I think he definitely was, but I don't think he is that guy anymore. And what that makes it difficult, Tom, is that I don't know what's going to happen now. If this was 10 years ago, Evans wouldn't be here anymore. He'd be gone. Even if he had history with us. Look at what he did, Ronnie Moore. He sacked Ronnie Moore after a really bad run of results. And look what Ronnie did for the club. Not for Tony Stewart, but for the club. So I don't know where this plays out now. I don't know if Tony Stewart is just going to grit his teeth, get on with it, and here we go. Steve Evans is my man to take us forward. Or whether he goes, actually, this is a real disaster. Because he's had 2 weeks, and he wants another 2 weeks, and then things will get better.
2 weeks is more important, don't forget.
The next week is more important. When nobody knows why.
Let's not get into that. Oh, my God. That was horrendous. God.
That was.
Oh.
I didn't understand.
Like I said.
No, it just makes no sense.
But anyway.
Oh.
But it makes it impossible to predict, though, don't it, Tom? Because I don't know what's going to happen now. We could see a club save it tomorrow. It could be here in May. I don't know what's going to happen. Even if we go get relegated, I just don't know what's going to happen now.
Yeah, well, Nick said it there. He employed a friend. You ever tried to fire someone? Probably not the easiest thing in the world. You ever tried to fire a friend? Probably you don't want to do it, right? You want to give them as much chance as possible to prove their worth, because it's not just Evans's reputation that's on the. Well, sorry, it's not just Evans's job that's on the line as a manager. Therefore, you have to fire someone from their job. Reputation, fans' opinion of them. Their relationship is now going to come under jeopardy. Blah blah blah. You can go on about it. Hence the reason why you don't employ a friend. I couldn't care if Evans was the best man for the job. If Evans was somehow Pep Guardiola, and I can't believe that we've snuck in a City reference, by the way. Thanks you.
Well done, Tom. Steve Evans will be very proud of you.
Yeah. Well done.
But honestly, though, even if Steve Evans was on the caliber of League One manager of the season, which he was nominated for last season, you don't go out and hire a friend, because when it turns bad, because it inevitably will, either because someone will try and poach him, or this will happen, or some fallout happens, then you lose that friend. And again, it's just never mixed business and pleasure, and all the good stuff that everyone should abide by, they just completely ripped out because he wanted his mate back in as his yes man. And I think we say it every single week, but if we got rid of Evans, who do we bring in? Everyone who says Mark Robbins is living in cuckoo land, because, and no offense to them, because I would love him as well, but why he would drop down to a relegation form League One side, disregard all the connections he had, and work for Tony Stewart. Sorry, Cuckoo Land was very mean, but it's extremely unlikely that he would do that. Then you're looking at Steve Schumacher, who again is an ambitious young manager. Therefore, he's going to want to stay a million miles away from anything Tony Stewart related. And then you have to look at clubs below you. There's not many. And if you look at any below you, there's none really that stand out. There's the one at Barrow, something wild. But again, that's a huge gamble. And then if you're not looking at any teams below you, then you're looking at Ben Futcher or whatever, who the new England under-21 manager is. And even he probably won't make the move. You know, you're looking at England under-20s, under-18s, or you're looking at Man United's under-21s and Tottenham's under-21s, this, that, and the other. And I think that's the only thing you do, is you take a gamble on an under-21 manager in a Premier League team, or the England setup, or the Welsh setup, or something like that. And you take a gamble on them and you go, well, what can you do? Are you taking a gamble on an assistant manager somewhere? And you hope for the best, and you stick through the process. And you try and I said at the start, you try your Duncans, your Holmes, your Hattons, your Ayres, your Douglas, the McGuckins, 5 players there who you sort of have to bring through as players that are going to reinvent the club. Young players with a bit of something to prove and a bit of this, that, and the other. Will it work? Probably not. Will we get relegated? Probably. But you have to stick through that to be able to be in with a chance to sort of, I don't know, just anything different from this. Somebody said there, yeah, take a gamble on Richard Wood. Why not? Why the hell not? He'd galvanise the fans, how Evans did, and he would want to promote that youth setup potentially. I don't know. I just think I think there's a lot of ways to go, and I think the next, if and when Evans is sacked, there's a very, very careful next step that you'd have to take after that, because it will make or break the club for the next 5 years who you decide to bring on as manager. And how you decide to bring them on as manager. Is that, are we going to bring back the first team coach role, or whatever it was? Are we going to bring back the, are we going to make a head of football an open position again? Is there a case of I don't know. And whatever it is, it's just in my opinion, it can't be Evans, because as soon as short-term success isn't an option, which it's not anymore, then you have to look at long-term foundations. And long-term foundations is a young, ambitious manager who plays a modern style of football and wants to bring up youth team players. And that is just that's just an under-21 manager in a Prem club or a national team setup that you just have to bring across. People can disagree with me. but it gives them a chance to embed themselves in senior football. They may be awful, like Ian Foster was for Plymouth, or they may be brilliant, like Kieran McKenna or Enzo Marquenza or Arteta. I know that these are all big.
Arsenal reference this time, not just City.
Huh?
Not just a City reference, again, Arsenal reference.
Yeah, exactly.
Very proud of everybody.
Someone with something. It's just someone with something to prove, young and ambitious, who can bring through the youth setup. Because, in my opinion, this is one of the best youth setups we've had in years. You look
Probably
at
ever,
you look at the sort of quality that we have in under 23, 24-year-olds now, and if you can properly develop them, they can be the core of your team. McGuckin at striker, Holmes on the wing, Hatton in behind, Duncan at the back, etc. You've got a good core setup there. How it works, I don't know, but that's what I'd be looking. If I'm Rob Scott now, I'm looking and talking to all the under 21 Premier League 2 managers, and seeing which ones affiliate best with the club values, the Rotherham United way, the who would be interested. I'd be asking around now, just in case, and I think if you report all those findings to Tony Stewart and you say they're ready and willing to take it, probably half the money that Evans is on. Yeah, I know he'd have a payout, but he probably wouldn't be paid nearly as much as Evans will be on. I'd say gamble, and this gamble would be a gamble. And if this person would to come in, and sort of not work, then you've taken a gamble and you've lost it, right? But whatever, I don't know. What do I know? No professional.
We ain't professionals, mate. Steve Evans is a professional. Don't forget that. The thing is, timing's important, Mick, and I think that's something that's worth mentioning. People in the comments mentioned a lot of people who can come in. A lot of people mentioned that next Tuesday is an important game for Steve Evans. The problem is, if you let's play that out. Let's say next Tuesday is a really important game, and we lose 2-0. Let's say 2-0, 2-1 to Lincoln, and that's the final straw. There's 4 games inside like 11 days in that. So when are you going to get an appointment done? Because you've got games all the time. You need to appoint somebody as quickly as possible, or do you wait till February and hope that something works out? Now, when you've got a 10-day break, is the perfect time to do it if you're going to do it. Because doing it after Tuesday would be the timescale of games is crazy. It's Christmas period. It's going to be crazy.
He's not going to do it. I mean, I don't even know why we're having this conversation. It genuinely, in my view, is an utterly pointless conversation. There is no way I can see him being sacked. I just cannot see it. It's not going to happen.
What do you think would have to happen?
I have no idea. I genuinely, I think we're going to have to be 5 or 6 points adrift of safety before he even considers it. I genuinely, if there is an absolute realistic opportunity, chance, of us going down, then I think then he might start to look at it. But we're too early in the season at the moment to say that we are currently in a relegation battle. But obviously, we all know that if things continue the way that they are, we will be. I just there ain't no way that he's going to get rid of him. No way on this earth that I can see it happening. He'll still be here in May, assuming that we're not in the bottom 3, 4. I'm absolutely sure of that about that. So,
yeah, I agree. I think we could finish 1 point above relegation, and he won't go. Because he'll spin some sort of cotton lie about how it was the players, and don't worry, because this summer I'll get the players in that I want, and I'll have the style, and I'll make sure, and then we'll go all through this again next year.
We can't do another year of this, Tom.
Martin's got this bang on right. Martin's absolutely right. That's exactly what we're doing. We're just kicking can down the road, and that's all we've been doing. That's exactly what this appointment is. It's not going anywhere. Don't get your hopes up.
Let me float an alternative at you, and I have nothing to base on. This is pure speculation. But what if he's not making a decision because there's some movements happening in terms of the ownership of the club.
Well, maybe that's the case. If that's the case, then Evans will be out the backside before Christmas.
That is pure. That's pure just a guesswork. That's not. You know.
But like I said, if that was the case, Evans will be out by Christmas. There's no question about that. No question at all, because nobody coming in will keep him. Nobody with any sense. The worry is, though, if somebody new does come in place of Tony Stewart and keeps him, that's when you've got to start worrying, because they are clearly not playing with a full deck if that happens.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. The question is, are these players going to start playing for Steve Evans again?
No,
I don't think they are. They might pick up a win here and there, but I can't see anything positive going forward from this. But remember, this break we've got now between the Link games is a really, really important break. It's the most important break of the season. So don't forget that, guys.
But it is an important break, because if we come back from this and there's no sign of progression again, that's a 4-week break with no training. So what the hell do they do in training?
What did they do? It was 2 weeks.
We had 25 minutes last week. We had a 25-minute video last week telling us how much work they were doing and how much they progressed, and then we come back and put in the same performance.
I know. And what's the one thing he said? How are you going to turn this around, Steve? Well, the work comes on the training ground. What training ground? I'd love it if someone pitched up there every single day and filmed what they did, because, oh my God, whoever the first team coach is stealing a living, because what the hell is it that they're working on? I can't remember his name, and he came from, I can't remember where, but my God, they don't work on a shape. They don't work on a tactic. They don't work on any kind of possession-based football. They don't work on ones and twos. They don't work on where should this player be if the ball's on this side of the pitch. You can watch the game. And
I think they do, Tom. So I think they do work on this. But what I think happens is everyone goes, "It's not working. We'll just change it. Stop this. It don't work. We're losing 1-0 to score. I'm changing it. Stop it." Yeah. So, and I think that's Evans's style. It's chaos. It's pure chaos. And if the coaches are trying to implement. And we did see the implementation of the ideas for a little bit, but because it didn't work, everyone's going right back to 4 at back. Sod this, not working. Yeah. What players meant to do? What's coaching staff meant to do about it?
Yeah. No. You're right. You are right. And I think it's simplistically idiotic. You get the bait. If I'm a player in that if I'm a coach in that training setup and I go, look, we've not won in 6. Let's get our basics right first, because this is not a bad team. 100%. Technically, they are technically decent, right? I'm not going to say good, because they're not good. They're decent. They are decent League One players with caliber of Clark Harris and Powell and whatever. They are all decent players. Get the basics right, and you will start winning game. What happens is, and honestly, you can go back and watch the game on iFollow, and you can pinpoint about 10 times where, well, nobody will do that, because nobody is brainless like me and wants to watch the game back. But it gets to a point where you see that Raggett can't play football, but Phillips would pass the it'd be tell me if I'm taking too long setting this up, but it was a case of passing it back to the keeper, passing it out to Raggett under pressure from a player. I'm sorry, if I'm Phillips, as a fan, I know Raggett can't, isn't great on the ball. That's fine. That's not his job. But if I'm Phillips, I'm not giving him the ball under pressure from 2 players running at him, because what did he do? He passed it straight out to their player, and they countered immediately. And it's silly decision making that. If your confidence is high, you probably won't make. You probably have a bit more better, so we can, you play. This playing out from the back works if the players are good at it. Jules and Humphreys, they can play, but you don't want to play through Raggett. If he's the only option, you send it long, and that's just common sense from a player, right? It's like they don't know how to play with each other. What do you want to do? Do you want to give it to Clark Harris to run over the top? Do you want to give it to Feet? You give it to Feet. You don't even want him to contest it in the air, right? Contesting it in the air doesn't work. Try and play it to his feet. Try and get him to hold it up that way. Don't let him run the channels, because he can't do it. He knows he can't do it. Why don't you know he can't do it? Same goes for players like, just playing players out of position, etc. It's just get the basics right. Play the players in the right position. Play to the players' strengths, and that goes for the players on the pitch as well. They should know it. And something will click because these players aren't bad. They're just decent, and they're just really bad at the minute due to whatever reason. But when you see them at their best, they are decent players.
For sure, in short spells, but we've seen it. We've seen it in spells. They're good players. They're good players.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll stop whining about that. So we can do it for hours. But they've got a new analyst now, so it will be solved.
Yeah, well, the rumours that Stewart didn't want to play for a new analyst, aren't they? But he's brought in a new analyst.
Well, he's another yes man, really. He's a Rotherham United fan, but I can't imagine.
We're Rotherham United fans, but
I can't imagine telling Evans, what's what.
We've got an hour and 15 minutes. We could have gone a bit longer, to be honest with you, but we'll call it there because we'll just. These therapy sessions. This is not a great therapy session because I think you meant to feel a bit better at the end.
I needed to shout
better. It's not been a great one, so apologies.
It's
horrible,
and depressing.
It's so horrible to do these. It really is.
It's not horrible to do these because I like seeing. What does make me feel better is that I'm not on my own. I know you two in there because we've got the group chat. I could see how many people in the comments are on the same wavelength as us. So it's misery loves company and all that because that is how it is. But at the same time, I am fed up of talking about negativity relating to my football club, the football club that we all love, and it's just been ripped to shreds. It just feels like a shell of what it should be. What it should be, not where I want it to be. What it should be. Scott, do we give quickly? Would you, if you were chairman, would you? I know you wouldn't hire him in the first place, but does he go till January?
No. Okay. If I'm chairman, no.
Mick,
I won't give him 25th of November, mate.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, I'd sack him. I'd sack him in an hour.
To be honest with you, I'd ring him now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd get rid of it.
I'll get your stuff dropped off at your house, fella. Don't bother coming back.
Yeah, I agree.
But
we'll probably stuck with him. Let's to not depress you very much. We probably are stuck with him, so we just kind of get on with it as best we can. Daniel Scott says it's been depressing, but a great show. It's what we're all seeing here. It is. There we are. So, Top Kettley says, "Can't you get Tony Stewart on after a match reaction?" Pay for that. I would pay for that. We have no plans at the minute to do a Thursday episode because there's no game next Saturday. We have no plans to do an episode on Thursday because we didn't organise a game when neither team were playing. So we don't have a game on Saturday. If something changes, we could be convinced to do an episode this week. The emergency protocols are on standby as they always are, but we got stood down last time. But those protocols are in place as we all know. So I fully expect to see you all next Sunday. If I don't think it will be before, but you never know. Keep an eye on life and socials and everything else. Don't keep it too much because it's a hellhole socials, but keep it close. Keep a soft eye on. Anything else you want to mention? Because we've got an hour and 20 minutes on this one. And,
no.
Anything else?
I like how Steve put, "Don't worry, everyone knows all the best players are available in January." We only go up from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you all for watching. Make sure you have subscribed if you haven't done so on YouTube. If you are watching in the comments, make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Make sure you give it a like. If you are one of the few hundred of people watching on Twitter, make sure you have followed us and give the button give it a share if you can do as well. If we've not criticised the right people, let me know which people we need to criticise for next time so I can make sure we put them on the list. I think we've ticked off just about everybody.
Everybody's had a piece tonight.
We'll cover Kitman and Tea Lady next week.
Yeah.
Time for that. We'll do it. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, make sure you have subscribed and give us a 5-star rating wherever it allows you to do so, because some places don't allow you to do so. And breathe, everybody. We'll have a beer. Get ready for work tomorrow. Mick, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
And Tom, it's not been a pleasure, but thank you anyway.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for the therapy, guys. Thank you.
Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all next time. And as always and forever, up the Millers.
Up the Millers.
The Millers.
I think I always made the comment that once a Miller, always a Miller.
Ravel, ambitious, but brilliant! I don't believe it! I swear I do not believe it! Good heavens, he's done it again! Another promotion for the big man.
I've got 12 bottles of champagne in my office and we're going to drink them all night.
Do me a favor, drop me off in